Okay, so welcome to tonight's webinar. As you can see there from the first slide, tonight is the first of a series of 8, and it's called Getting Started. And you can see there, this is the first of 8 in our series of Kleeneze webinars. And the first 3, so tonight and the next couple, are all about the retail side, the catalogue side of the business. And then numbers 4 and 5 are about team building, so a bit of getting started on team building and then supporting your team members. And the last 3, 6, 7 and 8, which could equally be the first 3 actually, because they're really important, are all about kind of personal development, how to grow yourself, how to kind of get over some kind of worries about the business that you might have, and how to progress and grow your business. So 6, 7 and 8, as I say, are kind of about your personal development rather than the specific skills and knowledge that you need for the business. I run these webinars every week, or at least every week that I can. So there's 8 there. It usually takes me 9 or 10 weeks to get through the whole series because there's usually 1 or 2 that clash with something else that I'm doing. And they're all recorded. So I'm recording this tonight, and at the end of the webinar, I'll show you where they all are. So if you're particularly interested in team building, for example, and you don't want to wait 4 weeks before looking at the team building one, then you can watch the recording that we did a few weeks ago and catch up with that one. Or if there's something in this webinar that we talk about and you just want to go back over again to make a few notes or remind yourself about it, then you're very welcome to watch the webinar once this is on. It normally kind of takes me tonight and early tomorrow morning to process it all and get it up on YouTube where they live, but I will explain at the end how to get to the recordings. So tonight, what are we going to be talking about? Well, it's all about getting started. I'm going to explain a little bit about your 30-day bonus. Those of you who are very new to the business, like Lobelia, for example, hopefully this is kind of new to you. Some of you guys, I know Martin certainly has already achieved his bonus, and some of you, like Andrew and myself, who've been in the business a bit longer, when we joined, we didn't even have the 30-day bonus. So, but I'll explain all about that, and then basically how to prepare your catalogues, planning what you're going to do with them once you've prepared those catalogues, delivering them, collecting them again, because that's the exciting bit when you get your customers' orders, and then placing that order, receiving those goods from head office, and then delivering your orders. So I know Lenka, I was just speaking to, a lot of this will be very familiar to you, but hopefully it will kind of reinforce what you've been learning over the last week or so by doing it, which is always the best way anyway. So, getting started. I'm a big believer in saying get started now. There is a lot you can learn and watch and read and practice and find out all about Kleeneze. But to be honest, it's much better to just, as soon as you get your catalogues, get them out and then learn how to do it better, rather than spend 2 or 3 weeks trying to learn everything there is to possibly know about Kleeneze and then starting to get your catalogues out. As I said there, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. If you've got some enthusiasm and a desire to go out and earn some extra money and find those customers, then that enthusiasm will take you a long way, much better than kind of sitting around trying to learn everything first before you actually get out with your catalogues. So, a good thing to do to get started, even before your catalogues arrive, so in the day or two after you've signed up and while you're waiting for your catalogues, a good thing to do is just to write a list of friends and family that you know. And I'll explain what we do with that in a moment. But also tell those people that you started your own Kleeneze business. Because if they're local to you, then they might want to have a little look at the catalogue and order something from you to help you get started. And even if it's like family and they're not very close, with the online shop that everybody gets when you first start off, they can have a look at the products and they can order from you through your online shop, which will also give you a boost to your income. So you can take action immediately that you've signed up, even before your catalogues arrive. And then when they do arrive, you need to get them ready, and I'll explain a bit about that in a moment. And I think it's a really good thing to show them to local friends and family and work colleagues. So the training that you'll be given, and I'll go through in a moment, talks about delivering the catalogues to the houses near where you live. So you've got 250 catalogues, you could go and put them in 250 houses. But actually what I recommend is, if you've got friends and family nearby or work colleagues, save half a dozen or a dozen for them, because they will love to have a look at it. They'll be interested to know you've started something new. Hopefully they'll know about Kleeneze anyway, because Kleeneze has been around for such a long time. And if they order from you as well, that's just a great way to build your first few orders. So, quick question. I think I probably know the answer for most people, but can I just check, has everybody here received their catalogues? Obviously, some of you guys have been in the business for a long time. Lenka, I know you've got your catalogues. Lobelia, I can't remember if Amanda said you just signed up or if you just received your catalogue. So, I don't know if you can hear me, Lobelia, and if you could type something in there just so I know if you've got your catalogues or not yet. Signed up today. Okay, brilliant. So that's really impressed, Lobelia, that you've invested a bit of time this evening to learn about the business. And I guess that's answered the question. Then your catalogues will be a couple of days yet, but that's good. So at least I know where we all are. So the 30-day bonus. The 30-day bonus is an incentive that Kleeneze give all new starters to basically provide you with lots of free catalogues to help replace the ones that you will lose at the beginning. And basically the way you do this is your aim is to get to 500 bonus points, which is around about £600. We talk a lot, as you get into Kleeneze, you'll start to hear some of this terminology, the jargon that we talk about, bonus points being one of them. But basically, if you can get about £600 worth of orders in your first 30 days, which is about £150 a week, if you can get an order in once a week of £150, then that's brilliant. So that's your aim, that figure of £600 in your first 30 days. Quick question for people then, and I know this is probably going to be different for different people, but would you say, if you were starting from scratch today, everybody, that achieving £600 in orders in a 30-day period would be hard or easy? What do you think, guys? Very easy, Tony. Okay. Anyone else got any thoughts? Yep, okay, Lenka, that's right. That's a very good point, actually, because I'll explain a bit more about that. Martin, easy. Yeah, I know, Martin, you've achieved that within 16 days, I think, if I remember, a couple of months ago when you joined last month. Well, the answer is, it depends. And Lenka is actually the nearest that I would say, because when you first start off delivering your catalogues, you can't control who orders from you, how many orders they give you, how much they order. What you can control is how many catalogues do you deliver. So if you've got 250 catalogues and you deliver 50 of them, let's say, the first day they arrive, and then the other 200 kind of sit around in your back office or in the bedroom or something like that, and then the week later you stick another 50 catalogues out, then you're probably going to find it quite hard. But if you take your 250 catalogues out and you deliver them all on the Monday, collect them all back up again, say on the Wednesday, turn them around again, put them out on the Thursday to get back up on the Saturday, so you get your catalogues out twice in your first week, then you're going to find it much easier, because you kind of taken responsibility for what you can control, which is how many catalogues do I get out. Now, some people will achieve the £600, the 500 bonus points, just by putting their catalogues out maybe once a week. For some people it'll be twice a week. Some people it'll be putting it out twice a week, speaking to friends and family as well, because you can't really tell what it's going to be like in your area. So it's a bit of a trick question really, because it's both hard and easy depending on how much effort you put into it, and that's really the thing that you can control. But let me explain a little bit about how it might work, how it might fit. So if your goal is to get £600 in orders in your first 30 days, then that is around about £150 a week in orders. So if you allow for a couple of days before your catalogues arrive, and then you start putting them out, you've got 4 weeks. If you can get £150 a week in each of those 4 weeks, then that'll be the £600. So if you get 250 catalogues and you deliver them once a week, then that will be about, it'll take you about 8 to 10 hours. Now that varies a lot. I know Martin, who I was speaking to earlier, the area where he lives, there's lots of terraced houses right on the footpath, so it's fairly quick. Other people will live in an area where you've got lots of detached houses, semi-detached houses with long footpaths, long driveways, and that's going to take you a lot longer. So we say 8 to 10 hours on average, and on average you will get around about £1 per catalogue in orders. Now that average is very, very variable, so you might find you only get 25 pence per catalogue. You might find that you get £1.50 per catalogue. Again, you can't really determine that at the beginning. The more you do the business, the more catalogues you deliver and the more customers you find, then the bigger the average becomes, if that makes sense. Because as you start delivering to your customers and crossing off the people who have said they don't want it, then for each catalogue you're putting out, you're getting more orders, if that kind of makes sense. So, but if we assume that you get around about the average, then you should be able to get £150 a week in orders. With a bit of luck you'll get more than that, but £150 a week in orders, if you do that once a week for your 4 weeks, that would be your £600. So what do you get as a result of that? So you get your first income, you get £125 in commission from those orders, from the £600 that you put in. So you've made yourself 120 odd quid anyway in the bonus. You get an additional, now let me just check this. Actually, these last figures are wrong. I just need to update this. Ignore the figures there. Basically, you get free catalogues as a result of putting orders in, and it's changed slightly. What happens is every time you place an order of at least £150, it's actually better to just make it slightly over 155 just to make sure. But each time you put an order in, you'll get an additional 50 catalogues for free each time you do that. And when you hit your £600 target, your 500 bonus points targets within the 30 days, you'll get a 50. If that's with an order of £150 that you do that, you get the 50 catalogues for free with that, and you get an additional 50 catalogues for hitting that 30-day challenge. So basically, you're just getting lots and lots of catalogues to replace any that you might lose. And some people will lose a lot, some people lose hardly any. So the idea is that it just gives you the biggest possible opportunity to make the best use of those catalogues at the beginning. Okay, so now that you've got an idea of what you're aiming for, your first goals, your first targets, how do we get those catalogues prepared? So the first thing you need to do is to personalize those catalogues. You should get in your starter pack, so the catalogues, obviously, you'll get order forms, you get sticky labels with your kind of contact details on. Depending on the team that you join, you should also get some help with your day slips. So a day slip is something that looks a little bit like the picture that you can see there. That's one of mine and Sarah's, has your contact telephone number on, and it tells the customer what day of the week you will be collecting your catalogues. So even if a customer doesn't want to look at the catalogue, they know that you're going to come back and collect it 2 days later or whenever you're coming back, so they can put it out and make sure it's there for you, ready to collect it. Now, what you should do is make every pack exactly the same, because when you're going to collect them, you want to be able to tell whether a customer has looked at it or not. So when you're preparing your catalogues, I normally put the main catalogue in first, and then any other catalogues that you've got, so the Christmas catalogue, for example, in just behind it. And what I always do is put one of the catalogues in upside down and back to front. Now I'll explain why in just a moment. Just in front of the catalogues, I normally then put the order form, and then right at the very front, in front of the order form, is the day slip. Now as I go through this, I'll explain that hopefully the reason why they're in that particular order will become clear. But what I would also suggest is different teams have slightly different systems, so just double check with your sponsor, especially if you're new in the business, if that's the same that they do. But that's what I recommend. So as I've said there, the day slip should be right at the front, the order form should be visible, and the plastic bags, the snap bags that you get in with your catalogues, you should change those regularly. Because as you can imagine, if your customers are putting them out and it might be raining, they'll get a bit of dust on, they do get scratched and damaged a little bit, or drawn on, or have coffee stains or whatever. So those plastic bags are your shop windows. So make sure you put fresh ones onto your catalogues regularly. I know some people change the plastic bags every single time they put the catalogues out. Personally, as I'm tidying up the catalogues after I've collected them, getting them ready to go back out again, I'll just kind of make a judgment. If a bag still looks nice and clean and shiny, I'll reuse it. If it's obviously dirty and just looks tatty, then I'll throw it away and use a new one. Because you don't want your customers kind of feeling, oh dear, this looks like it's been sat in the rain for a week. Okay, before you put your catalogues out, what I recommend you do is a little bit of planning. Now, I'll go through that first. I talk about making a plan because one of the things that I find a lot of new Kleeneze distributors struggle with when they first start off is the difference between being self-employed and employed. If you're used to being having a job, typically that would involve you going into work. A boss will tell you what you need to do, by when, what time you're allowed to come in, what time you're allowed to go home, when your lunch break is, and your kind of life is or your work life is pretty much structured around what your boss needs and wants you to do. As a Kleeneze distributor, though, you're self-employed and it's entirely up to you. Now that's fantastic, and it's one of the big benefits of Kleeneze. You can fit it around the school run, your other commitments, everything else that might be going on in your life. However, it's also a challenge because a lot of people then start to think, oh, this is good, so I can have a bit of a lie in and go for a cup of coffee and sort of chat with my friends, and then I might sort of see about getting my catalogue sorted out this afternoon. But if it doesn't, then it doesn't matter. I'm my own boss. I'll maybe do it tomorrow instead. And guess what? You wake up tomorrow and you think, oh, maybe I'll go and have a coffee with some other friends. And before you know it, it's 10 days later and your catalogues are still sat in the kitchen waiting for you to get them out. So you need to make a plan and get some help from your upline with this. And that plan, it sounds complicated, but the plan is really very simple. It's just how many catalogues, based on how much you want to earn, how many catalogues a week do you want to get out, and produce a little plan that just says, right, so I'm going to put my catalogues out on a Monday morning after I've dropped Susie at school. I'm going to collect them on a Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday evening, I'm going to turn them around ready to go out on the Thursday. Put them out on Thursday afternoon and collect them on Saturday morning, whatever it might be to fit in with your plan. And do a plan, and as I've said there, stick to it. Don't think, oh, shall I go out today with my catalogues? Have a plan that you're going to do it. Those disciplines that you would normally have in a job anyway, if you can follow those yourself, that will really help you an awful lot in your business when you're getting started. And we follow what we call a 6x4 routine with this in our team. Now again, I've just double check this with your upline. It might change with different teams. The 6x4 routine basically means that you deliver a catalogue back to the same houses every 4 weeks. So the first time you put your catalogues out, you'll put them through 250 houses near where you live. Once you've collected them back again, you put them back out to different houses in the nearby streets. Collect them back in again, back to new houses and so on. So for the first 3-4 weeks, you're delivering to brand new houses every time. Once you've been doing the business and you've been doing that for 4 weeks, come back to the beginning and deliver back to those same houses again. Obviously, if somebody has said to you, oh, I don't want a catalogue, thanks, or if you lost the catalogue and they said, I've thrown it away or whatever, they're obviously not going to order from you, then cross those houses off. But all the rest of them, whether they've ordered from you or not, whether they've looked at the catalogue or not, give them another chance to have a look, because what we recommend is you give your customers 6 chances to order from you. So for 6 months, you'll go back to the same houses. What you'll find is during those 6 months, you will find more and more customers in those same streets and those same houses. Some people won't order from you the first time or the second or the third. It can be the 4th or the 5th time. For all sorts of reasons, people have busy lives and they won't all order from you the first time around. But if you just go around once or twice and then say, well, none of these other houses ordered from me, I'm going to cross them off my list, what you'll find is you're having to cover a huge area to find the customers to give you the income that you want. And that the bigger your area is, the more petrol money, the more time it's going to take you to deliver your orders and your catalogues to those customers. And we go back every 4 weeks just because that shows your customers it's often enough so that they get to know you, they see that you're going to be delivering regularly to you and that you're going to be reliable. But it's not so often that they're sort of thinking, oh crikey, not again. I'm not going to, I've already ordered from the catalogue this week. There's no point in delivering it to them, every week. So once every 4 weeks seems to be about right. So when you're delivering the catalogues, you've prepared your 250 catalogues, you've put your sticky labels on, the order forms, they're all in their nice, clean, shiny plastic bags. Plan your route. And basically, I would suggest start close to home. There's no point in getting in the car and driving 20 minutes to the other side of town just because you think there might be some better houses over there. If you do that, you're just going to end up wasting an awful lot of time and money on petrol. So start close to your home. My best advice is go out your front door, turn left, and start delivering catalogues. The next time you go out, turn right and deliver catalogues that way. Don't kind of flit about to different streets. The best thing I would suggest is to print a map. If you've got a computer and you can go into Google Maps or something like that, print a map with your house in the middle of it, and then just highlight each road when you've done it, kind of working gradually outwards in ever increasing circles. And that way, you'll make sure you do all the little cul-de-sacs and little kind of snicket ways that you didn't realise. And also deliver to every house. Don't prejudge. Don't sort of think, oh, that's a huge house, they'll never want to order from something like Kleeneze. And equally, don't sort of say, oh, crikey, what a mess, I'm sure they'll never order. One of my best customers, their garden is full of bicycles and washing machines and things. They obviously don't care too much about the appearance of their house, but they just love ordering from the Kleeneze catalogues. And when I first put the catalogue through, I thought, I don't think I'm ever going to see this again. But as I say, I was surprised, and they've ordered from me pretty much every month for nearly 6 years I've been delivering now. So, as I said, don't prejudge the houses. Just give the customer the opportunity to decide for themselves whether they want to order from you or not. And do deliver to houses that say things like no cold callers or no junk mail. I have a lot of starters that before I started explaining this, they would go to the house and they would see this sign and they think, okay, I better not deliver to there. In my experience, those people are typically they're elderly people that don't want people knocking on their doors trying to sell them electricity or solar panels or anything like that, but actually they love the opportunity to be able to look through a catalogue in their own peace and quiet, in their own time, and they love getting to know you, knowing that you'll come at a regular time and you'll call them before you deliver their orders and all little things like that. So do deliver to those. Good point from Martin there up in near Blackburn area. Keep a lookout for empty houses as you're going round. If it's obvious that a house is deserted, and you can sometimes see if there's like a glass panel in the door, there's a pile of newspapers and junk mail behind the door, you might be better off waiting until that house is, if it's rented again, then obviously when there's somebody else in there, then you can deliver to them in the future. One thing I would say look out for is if you're delivering to an area where there's flats, and if the flats have, instead of a letterbox in each door, they have kind of like 20 letterboxes all in, like a big tin letterbox just by the main entrance. The problem is if you put one catalogue in each of those, you might think, oh, this is brilliant. It's taken me sort of 10 seconds to deliver 20 catalogues. The trouble is when you go back to collect them, and there's maybe 7 catalogues there, you will have no idea which are the 13 that haven't delivered. So you're going to be kind of buzzing every buzzer and annoying people that have already put their catalogue out. There are some ways around it, so you can, like, on each of the plastic bags you can put a little white sticky label and put number 1, number 2, number 3, so when you get them back you know which ones they are. But just be aware of that. It's sometimes tempting to just put a load through into these boxes, but I've kind of fallen foul of that in the past, and you end up just losing a lot of catalogues that way. Okay, other distributors. Because of the way Kleeneze works, we're all independent. We can choose to deliver our catalogues wherever we want, which is really one of the big strengths of Kleeneze. If you just want to do a few houses near where you live, you can do. If you want to deliver to as many as possible so you can earn a lot of money, you can do that as well. Now, one of the side effects of that is you will come across other distributors. But the best advice I can give you on that is just to ignore them. I mean, if you see them while you're walking down the street and you'll get to know them, then obviously, say hello, say hi. I've got lots and lots of great friends in the business who are not in my team, they're just kind of what we call cross-line. And so, ignore their catalogues. Don't pick their catalogue up. If you pick a catalogue up and you sort of think, oh, that doesn't look like one of mine, then just check your label or check the day slip so you can see if it's yours or not. And if it's not, just put it back where it is, because obviously it's not yours, it's their property. And they should do the same to you as well, obviously, so then you don't kind of get in each other's way. And customers will decide for themselves who they want to order from. As you're going round delivering those catalogues, keep records in your round book of which houses you deliver to. And also, if anybody says to you, because sometimes you'll pop a catalogue through the letterbox, and as you're walking down the garden path or in the next door, someone will say, "Oh, excuse me, sorry, I don't want one, thank you." So then you can just kind of say, "Oh, sorry to trouble you," and then cross that one off your list as you're going round. So you're not having to remember which houses did you do, which houses did you deliver to as you were going round there. And just be, usual kind of common sense, being polite. So close gates behind you, walk on their paths, not across their lawns. But do talk to everybody that you come across, even just morning, how are you? Just being cheerful. People will then remember that. If they're in the garden and you're cheerful, you pop the catalogue through. When they go back in and they look at it, they'll sort of think, "Oh yeah, that was that nice jolly girl that came round, a couple of hours ago." Whereas if you're kind of grumpy and surly and sort of grumpy and "Oh God, I wish I wasn't doing this," then your customers are going to think, "Oh crikey, I don't want to invite him back to the house. I don't think I'll bother ordering from this chap." So, cheerful, smiley face, just talking to people. So that's the delivering side. 2 days later, or whichever day you've decided you're going to go back, you go to collect the catalogues. So what you need to take with you is make sure you take your round book. So that's the book that you've just written down all of the houses that you delivered to. Take some thank you slips with you. In with your starter pack, you should have some slips that just say, "Thank you for your order, and I hope to deliver it to you on," and then you can put in there. Now, what I recommend at the beginning, when you don't know exactly how long it's going to take you to get an order in and when it's going to be delivered and when you're going to be delivering it, I normally just put on there something along the lines of, "I'll get my order to you in about a week." And that's not, it kind of gives you, if you get it in quickly within 3 or 4 days, they're not going to complain. If it's like 9 or 10 days, they're not going to worry too much about it either. So, but also really important is the "sorry I missed you" slips, because they won't get all of the catalogues back the first time you go round. So it's important to be able to remind people, if they didn't put the catalogue out, that you still like it back. So for each house, as you go round, just make a little note. Was the catalogue out? Did you get it back? Did they order from it? Because that's obviously really important. And did they look at it? Now, you might ask, how can I tell whether they've looked? If you remember, when I was talking about preparing the catalogues, I said put one of the catalogues in upside down and back to front. And the reason for that is when people take the catalogues out and they have a look through them, even if they're trying to, sometimes it's really obvious. They kind of just pile everything back into the plastic bag and it's just obvious that everything's been taken out and it's all been put back in a random order. But some people try to be really helpful and they put the day slip back and the order form back and the catalogues back in the way they think. But unless they're being particularly kind of clever, they will just put all of the catalogues kind of lined up one in front of the other. So you can tell the one that you'd put in back to front has actually been looked at and they put them back in the right order. And that's really useful because somebody who looks at your catalogue 2 or 3 or 4 times in your kind of first 4 or 5 months is much more likely to order from you than somebody who's never looked at all. So you might decide, I'm going to continue to deliver into this house because it looks to me like they're interested in the contents. Okay, actually I'm just going to go back a moment. One thing I didn't say here is I mentioned there about taking your "sorry I missed you" slips. So if you go to a house and the catalogue's not there, just knock on the door. If somebody comes to the door, just say, "Hi, sorry to trouble you. I just wondered if you'd finished with the Kleeneze catalogue I dropped in a couple of days ago." Now, you'll either get somebody says, "Oh, crikey," 9 times out of 10, this is what it is. "Terribly sorry, look, here's the catalogue. It's just by the front door and we just forgot to put it out," so they can offer it to you. Sometimes you'll get, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I just haven't had a chance to have a look at it yet," and they'll offer it back to you. If someone says that, that's kind of suggesting that actually they wanted to have a look at it, but they just haven't had time. So it's always worth saying, "Oh, well, if you'd like to hang on to it for a day or two, I can pick it up tomorrow." Because chances are you'll have a few stragglers that you've got to come back for anyway. And some people will then say, "Oh, no, don't worry, just drop one in next time." But you will get some people who will say, "Oh, great, thanks very much." And that is a great hint that, firstly, they wanted to have a look anyway. Secondly, they really appreciate that you have given them a bit more time. And you will find you get a lot of orders from people who do that, because you know, they kind of feel like, oh, well, I better order something because you've left the catalogue with me for an extra day. So that's a great way just to sort of, you know, if somebody says that, rather than take it from them and say, oh, don't worry, just ask them if they'd like to keep it a bit longer. Right, placing your orders. So when you've been out and you've collected your catalogues back, remember what I said about the 30-day challenge. You get 50 free catalogues if you put in an order of £150 or more. In addition to that, in your first 8 weeks, you get free delivery on your orders if they're over £150. Once you've been in the business for longer than 8 weeks, that goes up to £250 for free delivery. But certainly in your first 8 weeks, Kleeneze subsidise the cost of delivery, so it's worth putting your orders in as soon as you've got £150 worth. And you log on to the Kleeneze website. The password is the password that you created when you did your registration, and your login is your account number. So that'll be, if you've started recently, it'll be something like 5262 something or other. If for whatever reason you can't remember your password, then there's a link on there to request a new password, so that's fairly easy. As you're putting your orders in, if you sort of, you know, the first time round you maybe picked up, I don't know, 80, 100, 110 pounds worth of orders, so you might decide, oh well, I don't want to send it all off yet, but you can put those order details onto the system and it will remember partial orders. So once you log off, you can then, it'll remember everything. You can just log back on the next day or two once you've got some more orders to add to it, and it will remember what you've entered so far. You don't have to put it all in again. Remember, the cut-off time for getting things delivered to you is 3:15. I always say 3 p.m. just to be sure. What I mean by that is it takes 2 days to get an order delivered to you. So if you put it in on a Monday, by 3 p.m. in the afternoon, it will be delivered to you on the Wednesday. If it's after 3 p.m. or let's say, you know, after 3:15, so say 3:30, 4:45, 4 o'clock, anything like that, then it won't get delivered to you till the Thursday. So that kind of 3 p.m. cutoff is interesting to just to be aware of that for when you're working out when you're going to receive your goods, which is where we're on now. So your goods get delivered by parcel force. You will find that you are at a particular point on the delivery round for your parcel force driver, and that your deliveries tend to come around about the same time of the day. So if you know that you're expecting an order on a Wednesday, you will get to know that, you know, on these days he always delivers around about 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So it means you're not having to stay in all day long waiting for an order, basically. But once the orders arrive, you will see there's a sample picture there. They come in like boxes and blue bags, depending on what the different items are. And your first job is to unpack all of the boxes. Depending on the size of the order, you need to have a big kitchen table or a big floor in the lounge where there's some space to empty them all out onto. And you would then just go through all the order forms that you've received from your customers and sort the different goods into your customers' orders. So pick the first order form, right? So I need a wipeout stain remover for Mrs. Johnson and a spider repellent. So grab one of those, put it into one of the carrier bags. I would recommend, this is going back a little bit actually, when you're placing that first order, that you order some of the Kleeneze carrier bags as well. Just because it kind of looks a bit more professional, just kind of than handing them over in kind of old Sainsbury's carriers or whatever else you might have. What I always do then is, if you've got the blue receipt and the pink receipt together, which in most cases you will do, separate them. I then staple the blue receipt to the carrier, and I just put the pink receipt to one side, and that's kind of my checklist, if you like. I use the empty boxes to hold the packed orders. So, you know, you'll then end up with, you know, half a dozen or a dozen carrier bags with the customer's goods in. So you can just put them in one or two of the empty boxes just to keep them together. And the pink receipts from your orders are your checklist. So as you're going round delivering your goods to your customers, each time you've delivered it, you can either, you know, tick off on the pink one, or to be honest, I never use the pink ones again once it's been delivered. So I just crumple it up, throw it in the recycling, and I know that one's been done. And, you know, gradually my pile of pink order forms gets smaller and smaller as I deliver the goods to my customers. When you're delivering your orders, one of the things I find a lot of my customers really appreciate is I give them a quick call first. So they know, you know, I just sort of say, hi Mr. Johnson, it's Chris from Kleeneze. I've got those things you ordered from the catalogue. Is it okay to pop them round? And most of the time, obviously, if they've answered the phone, then they're in, and they're happy for you to come round. But a lot of my customers have said they really appreciate that call, just because it means they're not scrabbling about for change or a checkbook when you've arrived at the door and they're not expecting you. So it just gives them a couple of minutes to get their money together and to ask. And a lot of them will sort of say, "Oh, can you just remind me how much it was?" So then they've got the money ready for you when you arrive. So that saves you time when you get there. Yeah, brilliant, Lenka. Good feedback there as well. Most of your customers will pay you cash or checks. They can pay with a card as well as a card payment line, but I found that very rarely, maybe one per month, if that, I'll get asked if I can pay by card. So the vast majority is cash or checks. If someone pays you a check, they will often say, "Who shall I make the check to?" And you've got a couple of choices. They can either make it to Kleeneze or make it directly to you. I prefer that if they make it to me, because then all I have to do is pay all the cash, all of the checks into my own bank account, and then I can just pay Kleeneze what I owe using my debit card. If they write you a check to Kleeneze, then you have to pay it into a branch of the NatWest using one of the gyro slips. One of the Kleeneze gyro slips. So it just means two different trips to the bank, unless you happen to bank with the NatWest anyway, in which case it probably doesn't make any difference to you. As I'm handing my customers the goods, I always highlight to them my details. So on their blue receipt, there's a little box that has the customer details on, and I always say to them, especially if this is the first time I've delivered to a customer, "Oh, thanks, Mr. Johnson, there you are. My details are all on your receipt there. So if you have any problems at all with it, just give me a call and I'll sort that out." And I always say to them, that I can either refund it for them if it's not what they were looking for, or if it's damaged or not quite what they wanted, then I can just replace it for them. So what I'm trying to get across to them is so that they can feel comfortable ordering from me in future, knowing that if it's not quite what they're expected, they're not kind of lumbered with something that they don't want. Okay, coming towards the end of this now, so a few quick questions to check everybody's still awake. Can you remember what I said about how many weeks would it be before you go back and deliver a catalogue to the same house? 4 from Lenka. Anybody else? Anybody thought of anything? 4 from Tony, Andrew, Lobelia 4. Excellent. Oh, guys, you're all on the ball. I'm glad to see that. Yes, that's what I recommend. 4 weeks, go back. Now, can you remember in total in your first 30 days, how many orders are you aiming to get to qualify for those free catalogues? Yeah, a couple of different question answers there, but yeah, you're both basically like £150 a week in orders or £600 in the 30 days. So yeah, but either of those would do it, 150 a week or 600 altogether. Obviously it comes to the same, and you get. And actually, if you have a good start and you're doing more than that, if you can get sort of 600, 800, 1200, however much you want really in your first few weeks, every order that you put in, as long as it's more than £150, you will get 50 free catalogues with it. So even if you're putting 2 orders a week in, you're getting lots and lots of free catalogues. So definitely worth going for that. So for new starters, Lenka, I know you've just started. Lobelia, did you have an idea? Yeah, Martin's 450 free catalogues he got with in his first 30 days. So it's possible to end up with lots and lots. Lobelia, sorry, I know I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but I know you're a new starter, just started today. Did you have an idea when you first started off how many catalogues a week you were hoping to deliver? I don't know if other people who have started can remember how many they were trying to deliver when they first started off. Yeah, 250, yeah, as many times as you can. I mean, I'm a big believer in trying to get your catalogues, all of your catalogues out at least once a week. If people join the team and they sort of say, "Oh, well, I'm going to try and get 100 catalogues out this week," then it is quite difficult to kind of build up the momentum and to get familiar with it all when you're only putting a few catalogues out. If you can get 250 catalogues out at least once a week, and preferably twice a week, you're really going to give yourself as much chance as possible of getting those orders and building up your income very quickly in your first few days. Okay, so what have we just covered? Yeah, good point from Martin. Remember, it takes longer to collect them than put them out because you're obviously knocking on doors, waiting for people to answer and so on, and making notes of what orders you've received. So what we've quickly covered in the last 40 minutes or so, I've said about trying to get started as soon as possible. Don't spend forever learning about the business before you put any catalogues out. All about the 30-day bonus, preparing, planning, delivering and collecting your catalogues, putting your orders in, receiving the goods and delivering your orders. So I hope that all made sense for everybody. Next week is the 2nd, and that's all about your first 4 weeks. So once you've got started, you've started delivering your catalogues, you've started collecting them and so on, what are the other things that you should be aiming to do in your first 4 weeks? And that's what we're going to talk about next week. Right, I'm going to hang around just for a couple of minutes because I need to nip off. But for anybody who wanted to watch this again or watch any of the other recordings that I said there, they're all on YouTube. If you just go onto YouTube and do a quick search on Chris Smith Kleeneze, I think all one word you'll find me, but even if you put spaces in, I'm sure it'll find me as well. Feel free to subscribe to the videos, and then every time I put a new one up there, you'll get a notification about it. And thanks everybody for your support. Thank you, Tony, that's kind of you. Neil, no problem at all, mate. I know you're a busy man. Trying to keep your eye on those two cheeky girls of yours. Thank you again, Myrna. That was kind of you to join us. You're welcome, Martin. I'll catch up with you. I need to catch up with you and find a good time when I can call you, because you're so busy putting your catalogues in and out and stragglers and so on. I'm never quite sure when a good time is to call you, but I'll catch up with you in the next day or two. You're welcome, Andrew. Thank you, Alenka. I'll catch up with you soon. I did send you an email about a couple of options for dates when we could meet up, so hopefully we can catch up next week sometime. Guys, I'm going to shoot off. I'm just going to quickly put my email address on here. p.smith@hotmail.co.uk. If anybody's got any questions about anything that I've gone through, please just send me an email. I'd normally hang around a bit longer, but I've got to go and pick my daughter up, so I'm taxi driving again. Yes, Neil, hope to see you soon. I'm hoping to get up to the Carnock Richard opening, the opportunity meeting, either next time or the time after that, sometime, Neil, so it'd be great to catch up with you then. 28th of September, so 18 days for a couple of weeks. Yep. Millionaires on the 28th, Tony. We'll be there. Right, I'm going to shoot off now, guys. Thanks very much for your support, and see you all same time, same place next week, hopefully.